Welcome back to Fantasy Football RPG, your go-to source for all things fantasy football. Join us for expert analysis, top strategies, and the latest insights to help you dominate your league. Let's level up your game and dive into the nitty-gritty. Without further ado, let's get the action.
Happy Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler week to all who celebrate. It is episode 108 of the Fantasy Football RPG podcast. I am Mike. You probably know that by now. And I'm joined by Evan. You probably know that by now. But we have a special guest. We have the lead co-host of Out of Rhythm Fantasy. How are you tonight?
I am fantastic for a Tuesday night. It's actually not too chilly up here. So, yeah, I'm great.
There you go. Do you want to tell people, who you are, where they can find you, and what you're working on?
Yes, I am Jamie. I am from Out of Rhythm Fantasy. We are covering college fantasy. We did NFL, but we transitioned into college, which is I like to say an upcoming sport in the out of world somewhere in there. But you can actually catch me at Out of Rhythm Fan. The handle's up there. Kind of Sunday night, Monday, I actually put out a top 4 guys for waivers. And then kind of Monday into Tuesday, I actually post a top 9 graphic for just all in general. So that's what I do over there.
Yeah. If you guys haven't checked out Jamie's work, feel free. He's really crushing it there. So thank you for keeping us ahead of the curve in the college realm. But we got to get into, the NFL stuff. Before we do, I want to give a quick shout out. Head over to BetMGM, use code LWOS250. I know it's a mouthful, but it stands for Last Word on Sports, which we have just partnered with. So you can find our podcast hosted there. So use code LWOS250. Get $250 in bonus bets. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Look up all of the things. Take care of yourself. But let's get into some recap from week 5.
And now it's time for news and notes.
Devontae Adams still, kind of hiding there, trying to figure out hamstring, waiting for a trade. Evan, do you think he's going to play again for the Raiders before getting traded?
No, his tenure's done with the Raiders.
Very nice.
Feel pretty confident about it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Moving on down the list, Nico Collins, he's expected to play this week. Anthony Richardson, Jamie, I want to talk to you about a little bit of AR love. So he's dealing with a hip pointer. Joe Flacco comes in and he slings it. Do you want to have the discussion? Should they go back to Anthony Richardson? Are they just going to try to ride it out with Flacco and see how it goes? Give Richardson extra time to heal? What would you do if you were the Colts in that situation?
Well, I've actually had some hip issues, and I know that for a fact. I would actually stay with Flacco. If he's the guy that's going to get able to toss the ball to Downs or to your other wide receivers, I think Flacco is your best option. But the upside with Anthony Richardson, he's got the rushing capabilities. But I drafted quite a bit of AR5, and I'm kind of regretting it at the moment. But I would go with Flacco.
Yeah. The Russian quarterbacks are great for fantasy. Kyler Murray's been killing it. We'll talk about Jayden Daniels' meteoric rise later. But Donovan, I agree with you. Jay is the man. If you guys are listening to the replay of this afterwards, remember, we're live on YouTube every Tuesday at 8:30. Rashee Rice, LCL. Evan, was there any more with that or just LCL out for season?
Yeah, I mean, most of the reports said LCL out for the season. They said no significant damage to any of the other ligaments.
No significant, but he's
read into significant what you mean, what you want at that point. Yeah. It's definitely pretty interesting. It's very, very, very rare that just the LCL snaps. Yep. When that happens, usually other things in the knee go with it. So we'll see how that translates to recovery. We'll see how that translates to the surgery even. Because if there is damage to some of the other ligaments in there, it could take a little bit longer for the swelling to come down. Mm-hmm. Could be interesting.
It's when you were younger and you would be messing around with your brothers or your friends and you'd break something in the house, but you'd do a little bit to other things. You'd be like, hey, Mom, I broke this, but there's no significant damage to anything else in the house. So don't worry about it. Aaron Jones, MRI, I think he has a similar thing to Anthony Richardson, a hip pointer. He's considered week to week, 29-year-old running back. Maybe they let him ride for a little bit, see what Ty Chandler or the gas man, Myles Gaskin, bring to him? And then let's chat about Derek Carr. So, Jamie, you are the college pro. How did you feel about, Jake Haener coming out? How did you feel about Spencer Rattler? Who do you think is going to be the quarterback this week?
Honestly, I think Rattler would be your best choice in this situation. I know Evan, I know you're kind of a Rattler guy too. So I actually thought they were actually gonna put Rattler in the game, and the other guy didn't really look that good. The balls were just just not even in the grasp of the wide receivers to even grab the ball. So just off center. I mean, just nothing looked right at all. So like, I would honestly put in Rattler myself, honestly. And if they do go that way, I'll be rushing to actually get Rattler right now.
Dude, Rattler, if he goes in, is gonna give you reminiscence of Jameis Winston.
It's gonna be so fun.
He is gonna sling it, and he will not care.
It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a blast. But anyway, so slight bump down. I didn't think we would bump down these guys based off quarterback play because we were all fired up about Derek Carr. But slight bump down for Olave, slight bump down for Shaheed. Ooh, is Taysom healthy enough to fill in his quarter? I don't think he would fill in his quarterback. I think they like him as the gadget RB2 / tight end 2 / wide receiver 3 / quarterback at the goal line. But there will be packages built for him whenever he does recover from his rib injury. I know that he has broken ribs, which they can try to play through him, but
that's always kind of difficult. I know because I had Taysom Hill in my super flex, and I just left him there, and I'm like, even though he was out, I'm like, I had no other options, and I'm just like, bleh.
It's tough.
It is.
Last up for week 5 news, Robert Saleh fired and escorted out of the building. He was not notified ahead of time that he would be relieved of his duties as the New York Jets head coach. Evan, what does this say about the Jets organization?
Dumpster fire, absolute dumpster fire. And they should definitely get rid of Joe Douglas so the Eagles can bring him back as head of player personnel scouting. He was fantastic, and I absolutely miss him because Howie cannot draft to save his life. He needs somebody to tell him who to draft.
Yep. Just bad organizations stay bad when ownership and management and the people that are making decisions continue to make poor decisions. So not great. And then real quick, big news, Drake May. Oh, go ahead, Jamie.
I was going to say, did you guys see that meme with Aaron Rodgers and Wilson, 93 to 93 points? And I'm like, that was just the most funniest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, we all thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be that guy to actually like get him over the hump. And we have not seen that yet. So I'm like, what? With the weapons he has, he should be able to gotten them over this hump by now.
Yep. I thought Saleh's whole calling card was a good defense, and then they brought in a Hall of Fame quarterback to fix the offense. The defense has still been good, but they fired the defensive head coach. Doesn't make sense to me. Speaking of quarterbacks, Drake May set to make his debut against the Houston Texans. Evan, will Drake May survive?
I sure hope so, because I love me some Drake May. He was so much fun to watch at UNC. Coming off of the Sam Howell era of just airing the ball out at UNC, then you go into the Drake May era of just airing the ball out. Oh, it was absolutely beautiful to watch. It made Mac Brown actually look like a competent coach in college football. Wow.
Crazy.
Miracles do happen. Look at that. But no, he has the frame to be able to hold up. But will he hold up to 300-pound linemen consistently just laying on him after he tries to drop back and throw the ball? We'll find out. I think it's going to be great.
I think we're going to find out very quickly how well the coaching staff has been developing him and like building a plan for him, because he has the arm strength. He has the ability to read the field. The receivers, as much as we like love to hate the Patriots receivers, they're not that bad. So there's a world where Drake May goes out there and he throws for like 220 yards, and we're all really excited about it.
Mike, name me 5 better wide receiver crews than the Patriots wide receivers. As a group.
You want 5 better teams than the Patriots?
5 better teams at wide receiver. No, worse. Sorry, worse.
Oh, okay. I was better.
Apologies.
I'll just start at
okay.
AFC North and then name all of the teams, and then AFC East and name all of the teams. Worse, I would say, are we including pass catchers total?
No, just wide receivers.
I would say the Bills.
Ooh.
That's
okay.
Contested, though.
Yes.
I would say the
Rams.
The Rams with Puka
currently
Cutler.
though.
Yep.
That's
a great answer. That's a great answer.
Come on, week 7's right around the corner.
The Commanders could be close. Listen, Terry's a great one, but I would say that Polk, Pop, and then if you feel how you feel about KJ Osborne, Javon Baker, they eat Olamide Zaccheaus for breakfast. So that's 2. Okay, I see
you want the Broncos over him?
Oh no, okay. So the Broncos as well, and I think that's the end of the list. There's you can talk about the Panthers, you can talk about the Steelers, you can talk about. That's it.
Still better wide receiver rooms.
Yep.
And the offensive line sucks. So
if you do think about the Patriots, they do have talent there. It's just that none of them can come out to be what they should have been. Like Kayshon Boutte, he was drafted. He should have been something. He came from LSU. That's a team that comes from high wide receivers. He hasn't done really anything. I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to their mentality. They're not really. There's more like this team should be good. They have the talent there. They just haven't perceived it yet.
Appreciate you giving us this time, Mike. But we'll have a little bit more time later to talk about Drake May. So
let's do recap first, and then we'll head into our main segment. So some takeaways from week 5. Evan, you wrote the Browns are in for a rough season. The Jets are in for a rough season. In order to make this so we have enough time to talk about as many rookies as possible, whose situation is worse?
Browns, 100%.
I think it's the Browns by a mile.
There is no question. The Browns are in a worse situation, and it sucks. It's a city that's trying to raise money for a new stadium because they deserve a new stadium. Yeah. Like everything that organization has gone through, they need some kind of hope. They need some kind of something. I mean, Browns fans are out here saying, screw raising money for a new stadium. We need to raise money to ship Deshaun Watson over to Europe.
Yeah. I was listening to PFF's the NFL Stock Exchange, which if you guys don't listen to that, it's a good way to stay ahead of the curve on your scouting game. The Browns' only lifeboat, the best case scenario right now, is that they draft a rookie quarterback in the first round next year, because then it cost controls as they try and damage control what the Deshaun Watson deal did to them.
No, Will Campbell. You need a tackle.
Like they got DeJuan Jones, baby.
Oh my god,
the mountain himself.
They do have DTR, which I'm a fan of. But if they can get him going, I think that with the weapons they already have, DTR is a good option for them.
They also have They also have Winston, who everybody in Cleveland loves Winston. Whoa, just hear this out. Everybody loves Winston in Cleveland right now. He's going around to kids' hospitals. He's going to charity events. He's signing things for fans out on the street. Like, Winston is the man that city could rally behind, even if he just keeps the games close.
He doesn't even need to win it. He needs to keep them fun.
Sure.
I mean, Winston is that guy. I mean, we already know that he's got an arm. He's he's the next Rattler. We already know that he likes to air the ball. Come on now, so it's just the down. Cleveland doesn't want to move on from freaking Watson.
Moving down the list, we have some concerns we want to talk about. I'm just gonna blanket this now. I'm concerned about all Browns offensive players until Watson is benched. You can't trust Amari Cooper's getting 13 targets a game, but he's only getting 4 or 5 catchable ones. Jerry Jeudy's getting 9 to 10 targets a game. He's only getting 3 catchable ones. It's tough. So is there a Browns offensive player that you would start with confidence, or are they all just flex options that you're praying for a touchdown?
No, they're all flexes.
All right. maybe the next coach to get fired, Doug Peterson with the Jags. So Tank Bigsby looks great. They can't put him on the field because they've invested in ETN. The offense looks suspect at best. They're not coming together around Lawrence the way that they should. So I'm going to ask both of you, use code LWS250, over under week 9.5, Doug Peterson gets fired.
I'm going to go later in the season.
Okay.
We're at week. Well, I think we go under with this one because I mean, if they're not looking that great right now, I mean, they already fired one coach already. So I mean, if they're not doing anything now, I mean, why not just like time for a change?
I will say, here's their schedule coming up. They have the Bears this week. They have the Patriots the following week, and then the Packers and the Eagles. If they lose one of the two games of, preseason, we probably would have picked like Bears is going to be a tough game, but they should win that. Patriots, they should win that. If they lose both of those games, it could be Peterson's gone. So I'm going to go over because I think that they do win those games as they should, but we'll see. Evan, I'm not concerned about the Seahawks defense being broken. That was a nice note. And let's talk about the Commander. No, let's talk about the Commanders when we get to Jayden Daniels. Why are you trying to get ahead of the game plan, Evan? Vikings 5-0. When do they get their next loss? I'm going to read off the Vikings schedule right now. So their next loss is this week. They play the Lions.
No,
well,
they play
it's
Dallas.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, they play Dallas this week. I know the Lions
they
play Dallas.
are on bye this week, unless Google is wrong. So, am I crazy?
No, they should be on bye.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vikings are on bye. Then they get the Lions after the bye. Evan, are they winning that game?
Yes.
Jamie, are they winning that game?
Ooh, that's going to be a close one. I think they lose that game.
Okay. So Evan's the only one that thinks they survive. Do they beat the Rams?
No, because for whatever witchcraft reason, whoever plays the Lions the following week suck.
It's
they
because
are
Dan Campbell
so
has
bad.
If the NFL played 3-game series, I think the Lions would be undefeated because they're just biting kneecaps. Gritty, tough, whatever other cliche you want to use. But let's get into
also talk about week 7. The Rams have a couple wide receivers that may be getting close to coming back at that point. So never know.
All right. Well, you all just saw my very masculine hydro flask. Let's get into our main segment.
All right, let's switch gears. Roll for initiative as we dive into this week's segment.
All right, we're going to talk about the biggest risers and fallers among the 2024 rookie class. So the way that I did this, I went through with Evan and we listed what they are today on Keep Trade Cut for Dynasty versus what they were on NFL Draft Day. So I'm going to name some bigger names, but we're only going to talk about the ones that have moved substantially. Caleb Williams, he was the QB7. Now he is the QB10. Not that big of a move. Not really that concerned. Let's talk about the meteoric rise of Jayden Daniels. He was the quarterback 12 after the draft. As of today, he is not just the quarterback one. He is the overall highest valued player on KTC, and that's why it's a very dangerous tool. Only use it for sanity checks. So, Jamie, I want to talk to you. Are the Commanders legitimate contenders with Jayden Daniels right now, or is this just they've had one of the easiest schedules and he's just slinging good games together?
I think the schedule comes to play in this too, but I think the upside of Daniels is a little bit better than Williams, which I like. If you think about it, Daniels actually is like he's actually top 4 in fantasy rookie QBs, fantasy points in the QBs from the QBs. 4 passing touchdowns, 4 rushing. I mean, Caleb Williams hasn't done that yet. I like the upside of Daniels. I drafted him quite a bit, and he actually was drafted between the 7th and 8th round, which is great value for a guy like this that's actually got tons of upside. So if you got him in that in that round, you're happy with that. And then I like to say he's top 10 the rest of the year, but he has Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Philly, and Dallas too as well.
Yeah, it's a tough way to close it out. I think they're going to sneak into an NFC playoff spot, which if you told Commanders fans that a year ago, they would be over the moon. A lot of them would probably think it was with Sam Howell. But Evan, do you think so? We all agree, not the quarterback one, right? I think that should still be either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or somebody else. Is QB3 off the table?
Call me biased, call me whatever you want, but Jalen Hurts is still ahead of him, baby.
Okay. I mean, is Jalen Hurts scoring more points than him?
The weapons are there. The weapons are coming back. We're going to see the offense get back on track. A.J. Brown is a freak. Love to get him the ball. He hasn't been playing. Smitty's been trying to do it all himself. Goddard's been healthy. I'm going to knock on wood right now because he will get hurt now that I said that. And Lane Johnson is coming back, and he will be hopefully at full strength the rest of the season. So,
very fair. Jamie, do you agree? Like QB4? QB5? I think that there's an argument to be made that he's in the tier of the top guys.
Yes, I do agree. I think he does stay in the top. I think he does stay in like the top 5. He's actually QB4 right now on the season. So with him, until he really flops, I'm starting him. And I think he's got tons of upside. So I think he stays in the top 5 for sure.
Yep. Redraft leagues, if you drafted him, you're keeping him. You can probably drop your other quarterback and just ride out with Daniels. And if he gets hurt when he's on bye, then you can play the waiver game. But you have a plug-and-play starter the rest of the way. Last thing I want to talk about Jayden Daniels, because this is something that everyone talked about pre-draft, that pressure to sack percentage. I'm going to list off some players. So I have EPA lost per sack this year. So when he is getting sacked, it's because he's running towards the line, and rather than losing 6 yards, he's losing 2. Rather than losing 8 yards, he's losing 1. Some guys that are losing more EPA per play on sacks. Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Matt Stafford, Geno Smith, Caleb Williams. And Deshaun Watson leads that by a mile. So I think that the talent is there. He's only playing with one wide receiver that most people can name, unless you're really in love with Luke McCaffrey. So I think there's room for him to grow, which is wild because he's the QB4 on the season. Let's talk a little bit. I know I said we were only talking about the big movers, but Drake May, I want to forecast this. He's getting his first start. It's in a tough matchup. He wins this game and puts up 18 fantasy points. How high up the rankings do you think he moves? He's currently QB 16. He was QB 17 after the draft.
I don't think he moves a ton. I think he goes to 15.
Okay.
Maybe 14.
Jamie?
I think he kind of stays where he's at. I mean, the first couple albums we did see wasn't that great. I mean, he kind of helped him get down to the field, but I think he's got an uphill battle with him, especially with just the wide receivers in general, getting a rapport with them. I don't really see him moving that much.
We're prefacing that, Mike, with you saying he wins this game.
Yeah.
I
think he loses. So I thought it was almost the other way, that if he loses, like this changes nothing. This entire season, it was just, does he look lost? Is he fine? You're not expecting big fantasy points. You're not expecting anything. You just want to make sure this guy looks like an NFL starter. If he looks like an NFL starter and wins and puts up a medium amount of fantasy points, a couple of names in front of him. Anthony Richardson, as much as I love him, doesn't look like an NFL starter right now. Justin Herbert, the volume's not going to be there as long as Harbaugh's there. Baker Mayfield just jumped him earlier today.
I like Baker.
I love Baker. But should we love him more than a rookie with a job that has inarguably better tools?
I wouldn't say better tools. I just think there's just a downside with the Patriots. There can be upside. I just like the fact that Baker actually has the talent there. You already see this, but that's why I didn't draft Bays in Dynasty for our rookie draft. I overlooked him just because I didn't like where he landed. It's just like the development is going to take too long.
Yeah. When I say tools, I mean the individual tools of the player, not the situation that's around them. So
he has the tool. Yes, I agree with that. He has the tools.
Yep. Yeah. Patriots, not a great environment for him to grow. The nature versus nurture thing is going to be tough to see. Some other notable quarterbacks, we have J.J. McCarthy, currently the QB 19. He was the QB 18. Bo Nix, currently the QB 23, was the QB 21. He's put it together, kind of, a little. And Michael Penix, QB 21, was the QB 24. I guess it's just a product of everyone else stinking around him. But let's move on down to the running backs. So we have Jonathan Brooks, RB11. When he was drafted, he was the RB11. Good work, everybody, not overreacting to him not playing yet. Let's talk about Trey Benson. I loved Trey Benson pre-draft. I was very excited about him. Now, for some reason, Amari DiMaccardo is taking snaps over him, which is despicable, disgusting, coaching malpractice.
Where's my what button at?
Yeah, I don't know. I do know why. It's because DiMaccardo has the pass blocking experience, has shown that he can keep Kyler upright and is doing all the things that he needs to do. But he was the RB28 today, was the RB16 after the draft. Evan, do you think that that's gone too far? Do you think that it's not gone far enough?
No, it's 100% gone too far.
Yep.
Benson was the best of the healthy backs in this last year's class. Mm-hmm. And he was clearly the best of the healthy running backs in this past year's class. So sure, we can make the assessment, as we did most of the draft cycle, that this draft class is mainly RB2s at best for your fantasy team, which are replaceable. But where were you taking him? Mid-second, some early seconds. Hopefully you didn't take him in the first. If you did, I don't quite know what you were doing.
Yep.
So come over here. We'll help you out a little bit and get you some more advice to not take a running back in the first round like that doesn't really have RB1 upside.
I think he could have RB1 upside if James Conner disappeared.
Yeah, for a season.
Yep.
Jamie,
Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Benson is a 2025 guy we look at. If you look at it, he's only had 25 rushes on the season. Connor's got a lot more of it. We got, Amari kind of in there, but, Benson is getting most of the carry, the rushing carries in that inside that backfield. Not much in the passing game either. So, I think Benson is a guy we look at next year.
If you thought Benson was a play for this year, you obviously didn't watch a single down of preseason football, and you obviously have no idea how NFL franchises work, because that's not how they operate.
If I may offer, what is James Conner's contract?
I think he's up this year.
Should be after this year.
Yeah, I was going to say he's only got 1 year.
Yep. So he's done after the season. He's going to be 30 years old. Worst case scenario, they bring him back for another year. He still looks like he has the juice, like he's making the most of his touches, but I just want whatever running back is starting in this offense, and I hope that it's Trey Benson before long. This is the constant cycle that we go through with running backs in Dynasty. In the offseason, we're all about, here's the young guy that's going to overtake the backfield. And then September 3rd hits. And
give me all the old farts that are still around, running the ball 20 times a game.
Derrick Henry has an 80-yard touchdown, and all of a sudden he's the RB12 again. He was like the RB25 in the offseason, and now he's right back up where he was. As somebody asked me for a first and second for him today, and I said, no, thank you. But moving on down, Blake Corum, another guy we expected him to be like a longer-term play. Hands up, my bad. I thought he would get a little bit of work this year. I did not think that he was going to just ride the pine the whole year. He was the RB26 following the draft. Now he is the RB39. Evan, how worried are you about Blake Corum right now?
None at all, considering that I saw him as a injury replacement in an offense that gives probably about 85 to 90% of the snaps to a single running back. And that's exactly what the offense does. So when that injury to Kyren eventually happens, unfortunately, it's just historically happened. That's not wish casting anything. That is just stating history.
Yep.
When that happens, if you have him on your roster, he's a plug and play. And I don't even think twice about it. He's a plug and play RB, not even a flex.
Yeah. Completely agree.
I'm still kind of hesitant because I mean, you know, most of us we want that, you know, that RB1, we want that RB1 stuff. You know, I mean, we want him getting the ball. I mean, so I mean, with Williams kind of being there, it's kind of like you struggle to kind of put him in your lineups. I mean, I only see maybe like 1 or 2 red zone targets for him, so they're not really using him that much. So it's kind of like for me, I'm kind of like I'm 50-50 on this.
The offense will look completely different once Puka and Kupp come back. I guarantee you it is a completely different offense right now because of the personnel that they're having. But yes, I absolutely, to answer one of the questions there.
Yeah, let's hit it. Do you see
I absolutely see him as a buy, 100%.
What is the highest draft pick that you'd be willing to trade? So let's say you're in a Superflex league. Would you offer a 2025 second for him?
Sure, because I'm confident that he is a good running back. And if I'm offering a 25 second, I'm assuming that I can bank on him for next year.
Okay. Jamie, would you do a 25 second?
I probably would. I mean, we saw what he did last year with Michigan. He's got the talent there. So I mean, if Williams is gone, yeah, I'd be totally down. I mean, I've got a couple shares of him, so I mean, like, I'm down with this guy. I mean, I like what he does.
Yeah, I don't even need Williams gone. I just need to know what I'm expecting out of Corum. And what I'm expecting out of Corum is filling in for this year and next year in a backfield that when he plays, he's a clear plug and play.
Yep. You are holding him as not a roster clogger. He is your best handcuff.
Yep.
The moment that Williams misses time, he's RB1 is in the range of outcomes in any given week with him out. We have another good question from Dalton. Dalton, thanks for listening. Good sell window on Mason. Send him away for Jacobs straight up. Yes, 1,000%. Christian McCaffrey got some good news that I think that he's going to come back a little bit sooner than they originally thought. So if you're holding on to Jordan Mason right now, you get an offer for Josh Jacobs, do it. Jump on it. That's a guy with a job versus a guy that won't have a job soon.
Also, a guy that's getting a ton of carries right now. I get it. Lloyd's going to be back at some point, but some point 8 now and some point 8 in the very, very near future.
Isn't Lloyd on IR right now at the moment?
Yes, he is. Speaking of Marshawn Lloyd, before the draft or right after the draft, he was the RB36. Now he's the RB49. That will happen when a rookie running back ends up on IR and Emmanuel Wilson looks good. So let's not talk about the prices because I think we all agree he's a running back on a 53 that looks like he'll be the handcuff. Do we think that he is the handcuff? Like, is he going to be the guy, or is this going to be, if Josh Jacobs goes down, it becomes a gross 2-headed backfield?
Well, it's typically a 2-headed backfield in Green Bay. So, yeah, Lloyd is the lightning that will be in that backfield. He's going to come in as the back that is going to be the high efficiency back that they're going to be expecting to average 5+ yards a carry. And he's not going to see a ton of carries, but every time he touches the ball, there is that potential for a 50-yard run to the house.
Yep. Jim?
I've kind of, I was kind of like, I don't like this guy. I mean, when I first kind of was like, ooh, only because he was, a Trojan. So I'm like, I don't like this guy already, So I think it takes a little time to get accustomed to the name, where they come from. Do they have upside? Do they have downside? Can they actually do what their talent has for them? I was kind of like out on on Lloyd, but I actually kind of drafted him. So I'm like, I'm going to take risks, so it's that's the whole point of the fantasy. Let's take some risks and see what happens. And if you don't like it, well, hey, there's next year.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think Marshawn Lloyd is a fine backup running back. That adds, Evan, you great point. A little bit of lightning. So hopefully he comes back healthy. We're rooting for him in his recovery. But let's talk about the real RB1 of the class, Bucky Irving. Right after the draft, he was the RB48 because he's small and slow. Now he is the RB21 because he's good at football. Do we think that the Buccaneers split becomes more of a 50-50? Do we think it continues to be Irving on all of these gadget touches and White on all of the goal line and pass catching downs? Like, Evan, you're the resident Bucky Irving truther. Talk to me.
Dude, who would have ever guessed that a inefficient back in Rachaad White would be surpassed by a back that can make the most in short area quickness and be able to pick up little chunks of yards? Maybe not the home run play, but what does this offense need? They need, with Baker, to stay ahead of the chains. They need to stay on target with it. Bucky's not losing you yards. He's getting you those yards. He's changing his body, adjusting his body for the hit. He's getting that little side shuffle to be able to get out of the way, to be hit forward for a couple yards extra. It should be a 60-40 White Irving split.
Evan, I have a fun fact for you. Bucky Irving and Rachaad White through week 5, 44 carries to 51, Irving with 44. Irving has 60 more yards, is averaging almost 2 full more yards per carry, and is the only one with a touchdown, despite the fact that they were not giving all the goal line work to Rachaad White. So,
I mean, you remember the midseason takes that we had last year, Mike.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Jamie, what was your pre-draft
Jamie was there
take?
too. Yeah.
What was your pre-draft take on Bucky, and how much do you love him?
We if you actually did go out and check our channel out, we actually did cover Bucky in a college spotlight, and we were high on him just because. And we did actually have I actually had a graph where he was second among Blake Watson and then Ray Davis. So we are high on him just because of his athleticism. The game, all of it, the pass game out of the backfield was totally great. So we were very high on him coming out, and I was trying to get him wherever I could too as well.
Yeah, we love Bucky. We did a little film study. We live watched some clips and talked about him on here. Just his ability to make defenders miss, and the contact balance is pretty rare for somebody of his size. Normally we talk about that for bigger backs. They're bowling over guys, but Bucky just slips off of dudes, which is lovely to see. Let's talk about the other RB1 in the class, Braylon Allen. After the draft, he was the RB52 because he went to the Jets because the Jets hate me. And now he is the RB20, and there are real people that think that Braylon Allen is better than Breece Hall. I'm not one of those people, but I've seen him, and I hear it. So, Evan, how did you feel about Braylon Allen pre-draft, and have you changed your mind?
Oh, man, my love-hate relationship with Braylon Allen has gone through every emotion in the book. Loved him as a recruit going to Wisconsin. Loved what that program does with running backs. Loved him his freshman year as a 17-year-old, absolutely dominating the Big Ten. Second year, just didn't see improvement. Third year, they switched to the air raid offense. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Without a quarterback that could throw.
Yeah, exactly. Without a quarterback that can actually push the ball outside the numbers. Wow, that's going to work out great. And then Ches comes in and takes some of the carries until he gets injured last year in front of with Braylon. I think that was big. Braylon ended up getting a decent amount of carries. The issue that I had with Braylon is I just didn't see improvement from his freshman season. He seems stagnant, in my opinion, throughout all of college.
Yeah. And then he came to the pros, and who would have known that a 20-year-old could get better at football? Really,
Novel concept.
Shocking to see, Evan.
I just think I think that what we see is just a little bit of what what maybe someone can become. Because if you think about it, I really didn't know a lot about Braylon Allen, and I kind of started seeing a little bit of him, a little bit here and there, and dude, he's actually, this is almost as a 50-50 split between Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. Hall's actually getting 62% of the rush, and Braylon Allen's getting 30% of the rush. I mean, this is almost 50-50. And if you think about it, both these guys they're actually getting red zone targets too as well. Breece Hall with 8 and Braylon Allen with 3. So I mean, with him maybe getting, I comped him to like a mini Derrick Henry. That's what I kind of comped him to, because his just big build, just want to be able to truck over people.
Yep, I comped him to a timid. Oh shoot, what was the guy's name?
That's what I'm trying to remember right now.
Brandon Jacobs, timid Brandon Jacobs. But the timid part went away. Like, he's running with confidence. We love to see it. We got to keep moving down this list. We have a question from Howard Lintelli. I had to look that up on Twitter. He wants to know how much you would spend in fab on our next back, Tyrone Tracy. After the draft, he was the RB 143. Now he's the RB 41. So you're in a dynasty league. You have room on your bench. How much fab would you blow on Tyrone Tracy? I'll let you guys go first because I don't want to sway the conversation.
Not enough to buy him. That is my short answer. Not enough to buy him. If I remember correctly, converted wide receiver.
From Purdue, yep.
From Purdue, yeah. Should not be a running back in my opinion here. Should not be a bell cow. So should not be much of a RB2 on a team.
I guess the more the question is how much fab and how much, well, not how much fab. It's more like knowing your league on how much they're going to spend on a guy like this. If you know somebody's going to be like just some guy that knows he's just going to just, chuck it up there to, way too much fab, then, is it worth that much more fab for somebody else that might come down in waivers in the following weeks? But so I'd be like, I wouldn't spend any money on him.
This is why I wanted to go last. I would spend all of it. It's a dynasty league. What are you finding? What are you finding on waivers that is better than?
I thought that was redraft. Okay, dynasty. No. I thought it was dynasty. Okay, redraft. Yes, I totally be in. Yep, dynasty. Yeah. Yes.
The waivers are already slim pickings. It's hard to find guys. And Evan, what do we say? Any running back on a 53. We saw Devin Singletary go down. Tracy was clearly the next guy up, and he ran for 7.2 yards per carry against the Seahawks defense.
That you say is not broken, that I say is broken.
Look, 18 carries, 129 yards. And I don't know how much of, the Giants that you wanted to watch. I didn't want to watch any of it, but every time I looked up, Tracy looked good. So he has the juice. He has a shot at a role. And in a dynasty league, you're not finding better than that on waivers. Unless you play in like a really weird league. So listen, you can't take the fab with you when you're gone. What are you spending it on?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've traded fab, all my fab, for a fourth. And I'll take that fourth in a heartbeat.
You'd use the fourth on Tyrone Tracy. So let's go through the wider. Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was just going to say, I mean, Tyrone, he's actually getting 11% of the carries already. So, I mean, with Singletary being out, I mean, that's only going to boost. I mean, I love Eric Gray, but, from the sounds of it, he really hasn't done anything.
Jover.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's seen just a smudge. Well, so let me take it back. Eric Gray will be the red zone guy to take the ball in, and Tracy won't be seeing any of that.
For now. All right, let's move on down to wide receivers. We have Marvin Harrison Jr. After the draft, he was the wide receiver 5. As of 9:15 today, he is the wide receiver 5. Big movement there. But we're going to talk about movers, risers, shakers. Let's talk about Malik Nabers. If you listen to the show, you know that we love Malik Nabers. He was the wide receiver 9 after the draft. People killed him for the landing spot. He doesn't care. He's just going to get 50% of the team's targets, and he is currently the wide receiver 2. Jamie, have we gone too far?
No, not at all, because at the beginning of this year, I even put it out there somewhere in the airwaves out there that Nabers will be the number 1 rookie wide receiver across the platform.
Yeah, I think that's almost consensus now. You were probably roasted for it when you said that, but now it's crazy what he's doing. Evan, let's play a game. Malik Nabers or Justin Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Malik Nabers is scoring more points and is 4 years younger.
Don't care. Jefferson. I have a history to back it up.
Malik Nabers or Jamar Chase?
Jamar Chase has higher spike weeks. I'll take Jamar Chase.
Malik Nabers or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
That is where you can convince me. I will take Nabers.
All right. I think it's a very real discussion for Malik Nabers to be in the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase tier as opposed to the other tier. So very excited about his rise.
Let's also remember he didn't play last week, and he's still second in the league in targets.
And Wan'Dale Robinson is third, baby. Let's go.
That is crazy.
It's unreal.
Garrett Wilson and his 22 targets, right? Something crazy like that. It took to just unseat him. Yep. If he wouldn't have had that many targets, if he would have just had a normal target share, we're talking about Malik Nabers as leading all wide receivers in targets without playing a week.
I was hoping he would have played, but I'm like, but the thing about what the Giants have, they really don't have any really. They have Robinson down there. They really didn't have, Slayton, he's all right, but they really needed a number 1 guy there, and Nabers is that guy.
Yep. Malik Nabers is playing Daniel Jones into being the quarterback next year. So Rome Odunze, wide receiver 18 today, was the wide receiver 11 after the draft. It's like we don't learn lessons. Wide receivers with rookie quarterbacks struggle. Wide receivers that are stuck behind 2 very good receivers struggle. Wide receivers with a eco-terrorist as an OC struggle. So the JSN comps were unfair because Rome Odunze is a better prospect, but when you talk about it, he is the 3rd wide receiver in a Shane Waldron offense that we all hate. So I'm not over the moon about it. I think he's going to keep trickling down slowly. If you're a rebuilding team, I would recommend targeting him as a buy. How do you guys feel about Rome Odunze's fall?
I think it's going to be a bigger buy window in about 5-6 weeks when he's still not seeing the production that people want. You get to the trade deadline. We get to like week 10 to week 12 in your dynasty leagues. That window is wide open. So
I'm holding Rome. I mean, I've been a Rome guy for a while. I actually drafted him 2nd overall, and I even took him over freaking Marvin Harrison. So yeah, you can beat me up over that, but I just think Rome has the same potential as Marvin Harrison does with Arizona. So I mean, as long as Allen gets the heck up out of there, Rome's going to be a different animal. But until then, I think we're going to see mediocre weeks from Rome. That's just going to be the aspect of it.
Yeah. On the other side of the coin, so Rome's been falling a little bit. Brian Thomas Jr. has gone from wide receiver 29 after the draft all the way up to wide receiver 8. And when you say that at first, it sounds unfounded. But he's a top 12 wide receiver in scoring on the season. All of our concerns about his limited route tree have almost faded away. Even though he's still running a fairly limited route tree, he's just doing it all very well. And the spike weeks are going to be huge because he's big, fast, and catches the ball well. So, Evan, is the wide receiver 8 valuation fair, or is this a little bit of overreaction?
It's overreaction, but he is clearly the best wide receiver on this team. It is a team that is struggling. It is a team that is falling behind. It is a team that wants to push the ball down the field. Those are all things that we absolutely love for fantasy wide receiver production. And he's doing it at his age. Yeah. Was not a huge fan coming out. And I definitely got some egg on my face. I will fully admit to that. He put the egg right there on my face.
I was gonna say he's one of the ones that we argued about a little bit. So
we definitely did.
I'll just keep this egg in my pocket. So Jamie, here's a couple of names are behind him on Keep Trade Cut right now, which is an overreactive cesspool of silliness. AJ Brown. Would you rather have AJ Brown or Brian Thomas Jr.?
I'm going Thomas Jr.
Evan, I don't think that's unfair.
What has AJ Brown done already? He's been hurt.
He's been hurt.
He hasn't really done anything. Like I did not like AJ Brown. I didn't even draft him. I actually took Brian Thomas in some of my leagues.
Oh my goodness!
You can actually get this guy like in the 7th, 8th round in the redraft. In Dynasty, he was a 2nd round draft pick. Hey, I'll take Thomas just because there's the opportunity of him getting more targets, more touchdowns. Christian Kirk. If you think about it, Christian Kirk and Thomas Jr. 18. So Christian's got 18 completions. Thomas has 17 completions. These guys are like 50-50. Can Thomas outbeat Kirk? I think he can.
Sure, they're 50-50. AJ Brown got 10 targets for 119 yards and a touchdown in week 1. Like right out of the gate, he has the chemistry with Jalen Hurts. As long as Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, which he's locked into a very long contract there, that pays him a lot of money. So he will be the quarterback. He loves to throw it to AJ Brown when he is in trouble. That is the go-to target. Let's also remember what I talked about, history of production. Oh, yeah. Last 2 seasons, 158 targets, 145 targets for just under 1,500 yards, both of those seasons for A.J. Brown, with 7 and 11 touchdowns, respectively, for 23 and 22. A.J. Brown has the history of production. So, yeah, taking A.J. Brown in a heartbeat.
I mean, AJ Brown does has the production, but they have more. They actually have more people in the offense now to spread the ball around. This is almost like a mini Kansas City Chiefs. So it's kind of like the run game's open. I mean, they have freaking I can't think of his name.
Saquon.
Yes, so that's going to take away targets because he can pass out. He can catch them out of the backfield. So I think this is dubbed down some now. I don't see that 1,500 coming anywhere.
Unless they're playing Atlanta, then he drops the ball on a must-make catch that would win them the game, and then they lose. You
seem a little sad about it. I think this is a good discussion. Rebuilding teams, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is clearly the choice. I think competing teams, you need to have that discussion. Like, do you want to wait for AJ Brown or see if he gets re-dinged up, or do you want to stay with the lower ceiling player but with a longer career in Brian Thomas? So we'll see how it goes. Xavier Worthy, big mover. After the draft, he was the wide receiver 26. Now he's the wide receiver 25. So you're welcome, everybody. Was in on that. Lad McConkey, sorry, I missed this one. He was wide receiver 29 after the draft. Now he's wide receiver 30. I feel like I've let you all down.
But you're a dad for Lad. Come on, Mike.
I am the leader of dads for Lad. But let's talk about some of the guys that have actually been moving. Troy Franklin, he went from wide receiver 55 with, even pre-draft, there were some spikes where we're talking like wide receiver 38, 39. Like there were some truthers in there. And now he's dead. So, Evan, any excitement for the future for Troy Franklin, or get him off your roster, find the guy that still believes, get a third?
If anybody believes and wants him for a third, you sell him for a third. Not the answer, not the guy that you want. Cortland Sutton is the only wide receiver in this offense that is worth rostering. Yeah, not even starting, worth rostering, period.
I think that's fair. Jamie, do you disagree or same page?
No, I'm on the same page. I saw that Bo Nix to wannabe Franklin pass, and the connection was not there. I'm like, what? That's very sad. I was hoping for high hopes just for Franklin, just because there was the opportunity in this core for him to, unleash his talents, and we have not seen that yet.
Yeah. I want to hit on, so this is somebody that hasn't really moved that much, but I just want to talk about him because he's moved for me personally. And Evan, Jamie, I want to get your guys' thoughts on him. Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. He was a wide receiver 40 after the draft. There was a strong contingent of people. Big, fast. That's good enough for me. I didn't think that he had, like the hip flexibility to get into his breaks and get out of his breaks effectively, but that's something that he's done really well at the NFL so far. And Canales is using him on a lot of things that you want him to be used on for a bigger wide receiver, like shallow crosses, getting him in space, letting him get the ball in his hands. Like, do you think that he's going to continue to rise as this offense gets a little bit better, or do you think he's going to stay one of those fringe you throw him in as a flex option?
Yeah, so I definitely think he's going to continue to rise. We saw Mingo just flame out, and Mingo is not doing much, period. We look at the rest of this offense. Thielen is hurt. You have Andy Dalton at quarterback, the corpse of what is Bryce Young at this point at quarterback, possibly, maybe, who knows. Deontay Johnson absorbing targets because targets are in that offense, and somebody needs to take them. Leggett could be that downfield threat. He could be the guy that wins the high point balls. He has a lot of the prototypical X wide receiver traits that you want to look for, with size, with enough juice to be able to go. You want to see him improve his route running. You want to see him improve his ability to get separation, which I think we've seen some improvement, which gives me enough hope.
Jamie?
I would, for my resource, they actually do not have Deontay Johnson listed on there for all the stats, because I was just going to say Xavier Leggett is the main guy there getting all the targets. He's got 21 targets on the season already, 120. So, they're giving him as long as they stay with the red rifle, I think he's going to be on the rise, because no one else has really done anything. Mingo, he's kind of we thought maybe he was going to bounce up and do a little bit more this season. We did not. That. So, that's the unfortunate. This is the unfortunate. I like Leggett. I have him in a couple of leagues. I actually got him in, not my flex, actually starting as a wide receiver, but unfortunately I think he's injured now. So I'm like, so kind of downfall, but he does have a lot of upside. So he is 9th in rookie fantasy points. Yeah. Other than that, I like what he's got. He's actually seen 4 targets already in the red zone already compared to everybody else. So there's targeting him quite a bit in the red zone.
Yeah. All right, let's hit one more guy. Jamie, tell the people where they can find your work, and then tell them how you feel about Javon Baker.
Ooh, well, you guys can find me at iRhythm Fan on X. We have a YouTube channel too as well. We actually do college fantasy. You can find us we go live every Wednesday around 7:00 Central Standard Time. And I put out a top 4 on X as well, along with a top 9 college overall general on Tuesdays on X as well. So you can go check me out on X. And Javon Baker, I love it's sad because I love the Baker. He's got great talent, good route skills. If you guys want to, we actually did another college spotlight on Javon Baker. We actually have a list over there on YouTube as well. So it gives you all the lists of what we got this year's talents we talked about. And we will be talking about some more talents for the 2025 season coming up. So come subscribe, follow us. We do have audio versions as well.
Yeah, go check out Jamie and all of his great work. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Evan, tell me, is Javon Baker getting any more runs this season?
Javon Baker is not good enough to be in your lineup, and he should not be on your roster. If somebody else in your league will take him for a third, happily send him away.
I think he might get I want to see what the splits look like with Drake May before I write him off for dead. But if he doesn't get 40% of snaps this weekend, just find anything. Sell him for fab. Doesn't matter.
He is DOA, dead on arrival.
But thanks so much for coming on tonight. I hope you guys had fun. If you guys are still listening at home, click like, subscribe, send it to your mom, because we love moms on this show. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at FFRPGPod and at FFMikeCash with a K. Don't let the goblins get you. See you next week.